I've worked remotely from all over the world, and it's all thanks to my remote job. And I get a ton of questions about it. For starters, yes, it is a real job. No, I'm not selling a course. No, I'm not drop shipping. It is a regular role. I take my meetings on Zoom and provide things for a company from my laptop, which is currently in a remote island in Malaysia right now. The truth is, not only do these jobs exist, but they're actually growing. So if you want to know where to find them and how to qualify, keep watching the video. The best part is, some of these roles you do not need a degree or even experience to qualify, but what you do need to know is where to find them. The number one question I get asked is, okay, so how do you find these remote jobs? Let me demonstrate it with this. Look at this posting on LinkedIn, 1,000+ applications for a remote entry-level role. With this many applications, you're lucky if management even reads your first name. I've been helping people get remote jobs specifically to travel for over a year now, and I've seen a couple of methods work. One really powerful one is networking. The other is setting up alerts on remote first company job sites. But the most powerful one, in my opinion, is a little known hack that I love to use. Well, after years of helping people with this method, I ended up actually building a site that does just that. And best of all, you can use it for free. Check out remotefreedom.jobs. It is the best remote job board out there, but admittedly, I'm a little biased, so it's only fair I talk about the other specialized job boards as well. They all source remote jobs differently and oftentimes have less competition than the major job boards. So once you run out of jobs to apply to, move on to the next one. Some of them are paid, some of them are free. I will list my favorites in the description. But that's not all, because you probably want a remote job that gives you the option to travel the world, right? This means that the companies you should target are just as important as the roles you're going to target. Smaller companies are king. One, because they get less competition. Two, because they oftentimes don't have office spaces where they're forced to draw people back into work just to protect their real estate investment. And three, there's often less hurdles to convincing manager or HR to let you work remote. There's nothing worse than having a 100% remote job, but it having a policy where you could only work outside the US for 30 days or sometimes not at all. Now, if you're in that situation, I actually have a system to help you transition, but that's a whole other subject and a whole other video. Point is, there are remote first companies, and those are probably upper echelon. If you want to know the top 50, I have a free resource below. Large remote first companies are great to apply to, but smaller companies are, I think, even better. That is how I ended up going remote. It was 2019. I begged my manager, just let me work remote in Mexico for 30 days. He didn't quite understand. He thought taxes were super complicated. It was going to be against company policy. And after explaining to him how I planned on doing it, keeping my US residence, he was like, okay, well, what about productivity? Coming up with a productivity plan, he was like, okay, we'll give you 30 days. And I've never looked back since. That was 5 years ago. Because think about, in a smaller company, there is no large HR department, large company policy meant to protect them from 1,000 different employees. You're one of the core members, and if you do this correctly, you will not cause your company any problems. So this completely changed my life, and 5 years later, I'm so passionate about it that I actually have a community of others who are doing it that want to help people figure out how to set this up, because it will change your life. Shameless plug. Shameless plug for the community. The next thing people ask me is, what if I don't have the skills or experience? This is a little bit more complicated and depending on the person, but there is a method that works really well. And I have proof these tips work. Someone in our community went from a warehouse job with no experience to working remote overseas in just a few months using these methods, so pay attention. And shout out Antonio. So the first step is understanding what transferable skills you might have and what roles you might actually qualify for right now. Over the years, I've distilled a list of my top 50 favorite remote roles for people to look at. If you're interested in that, the free resource is below. Let's explore one of these. For example, something like customer service. Now, remote companies need all kinds of different roles, and this one in particular is very entry-level friendly and low barrier for entry. If you speak English, sometimes bilingual is a plus as well, and have good communication skills, you are qualified to land this role. Another reason customer service, marketing, sales roles are great is because smaller companies need them. Sometimes it's one of the first few positions they hire. And don't get discouraged, you probably have more remote skills than you personally think. So it's important to look at your current role and your past role for crossover skills. Anything you do over the phone, over email, or with your computer or laptop are very likely able to be done remotely. And do not be afraid to apply if you do not meet all the requirements. Your personality and personal experience outside of your work life are actually your secret weapon, especially when it comes to smaller companies. And now I'm staying at a cabin in Bali, Indonesia. It turns out the file I was working on got corrupted and I didn't realize it until I was here editing it. So I think this is a good time to talk about things don't need to be perfect. You don't have to show up as this perfect person with all the skills, but you do need to show up as yourself and be authentic. At the end of the day, it's a human that's going to decide if they want to hire you or not a robot, so there is no formula. I really want to hone in on this because time and time again, I see personality and personal experience being something that's often overlooked when people are applying and looking at their resume. My personal project is 100% the reason why I got hired as a data analyst and why I'm working this remote job today. My project had a lot more to do with music than it actually had to do with analytics, and me and my future manager actually just nerded out a bunch on the call about music, what music they liked, what music I liked, and what I was planning to do analysis-wise on the music. Not only was this something a lot more exciting for both of us to talk about, it showed that I could transfer my skills in analytics towards something I'm actually passionate about. Now, having said that, skills and results are definitely still important. You need to get to a place where you at least meet the minimum level of requirements. And nowadays, more than ever, certifications are actually one of the fastest, best routes to make that happen. So if you look at that 50 remote job list below, some of these roles have massive opportunities and people can qualify for them just in a few months instead of 4 years getting a degree. Because let's be honest, guys, 4 years is a very long timeline and degrees are extremely expensive, especially in America. College is seen less and less by smart companies as a requirement, and smart companies want to hire remotely. The reason why studies show remote workers actually stay with companies much longer and are more productive. It might be counterintuitive to managers now, but let me put it like this. Remote workers really love their companies because they treat them like adults. If they can handle the responsibility of working remote, then they can handle the freedom. As long as their work quality doesn't slip, they turn in their projects on time, they are just going to be more happy. And happy workers stay longer. I was just in Malaysia, now I'm in Bali. I love my company not because they have a cool office space with a ping pong table. It's because they allow me to live a life that I love and is great for my finances. In my opinion, this is the #1 way to level up your life in 2025. I cannot stress this enough. I meet people every day who are much happier because of this, and I help people do it, and I have seen no people regret setting up this life. Now, it is hard, and you might need some extra help. If you would like that, join a community of people who are all working towards the same goal. I'm really passionate about it. I'll be in there as well. Best of luck on the hunt, guys.